Hi and welcome to the Booklab. I'm Björn and this is the show where we present the upcoming non-fiction releases, this time for January 2025. We made it. And I'm so glad that you're back this year looking at the channel. And if you're new to the channel, this is where we talk about non-fiction books. And I made a list here of 7 books, upcoming releases that I found very, very interesting. This video is a little bit late, I know. My family has been struggling with some illnesses, and me too. You can probably hear it in my voice, but I won't let you down. I will make the list. It's just a little bit delayed this month because family has to come first, but you're my family too. So let's jump right into the list. Let's start out right away. The first book is What Your Body Knows About Happiness. It's by Janice Kaplan. The tagline is How to Use Your Body to Change Your Mind. It's 400 pages and it's out on January 7th. The mind and body connection is extremely interesting. It's an interesting topic that I've explored in books like When the Body Says No by Gabor Mate, a book that I reviewed quite recently. You'll find links to all the books that I mentioned in the description below, where I have like full reviews of them. In What Your Body Knows About Happiness by Janice Kaplan, she explores starkly new evidence showing that our feeling bodies are often smarter than our thinking minds. Talking to experts in a wide range of fields, she brings her distinctive brand of conversation, humor, and storytelling to scientific research, drawing unexpected links that reveals the power of body-mind connection. You also get tips and strategies for knowing your body in a whole new way, leading to greater happiness and pleasure every day. And to be honest, 2024 for me was not the best year in my life. It kind of sucked, to be honest. I haven't had a bad year in a while, and I don't plan to have anymore. I want to get back to the same creativity, energy, and momentum that I had like in 2021, 2022, 2023, and I think this book might actually help me get back into a more high energy state. So what will this book teach you? Well, how to use your body to spark your creativity, how to find joy through your senses, how to change your environment, the environment around you to improve your mood, the unexpected powers of diet, exercise, and sex, the way your brain resolves bodily pain, and how to create optimism through your body. It looks a little bit, or it sounds a little bit woo-woo and out there, but there might be some nuggets in this one. But let's jump right into the next next book. I know you have very little time, so I try to keep it short. Why Taiwan Matters, a short history of a small island that will dictate our future. It's out on January 28th and it probably has some pages. I don't know them now, but I will probably add it to the video right here. This is by Kerry Brown, and Kerry Brown's book succinctly explores Taiwan's history and its perilous position in geopolitics. After the 1949 Chinese Civil War, Mao's communists claimed mainland China, while Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists fled to Taiwan. Over time, Taiwan has evolved into a thriving democracy and a global economic powerhouse, producing over 90% of the world's semiconductors, and you've probably heard about that. While Taiwan is a beacon of freedom for the West, China under Xi Jinping views the island as a part of its territory, threatening invasion and risking a global conflict. With expert insights and rare access to Taiwan's leaders, Brown's book offers a vital, accessible analysis of this critical geopolitical flashpoint. And when I read through this, it brings an anecdote to mind. I know I was working on a game and we were producing a map. We were working for a publisher. I work as a game developer, and I know we had this lecture from our publisher about sensitive geopolitical things that to avoid when you make a game. For instance, when you make a map, you want to make sure not to add Taiwan there if you want to sell the game in China, for instance, because that would cause them to basically ban your game and you would not be allowed to enter the Chinese market, for instance. There are two reasons why I want to read about this. One is I want to understand the geopolitical the power struggles around semiconductors, and also the history of China and Taiwan is like a blind spot in my knowledge, so I think this is a good way to read up on it. The next book we have is about music. Music as medicine. How we can harness its therapeutical powers. It's out on January 23rd. It's 416 pages and it's by Daniel Levitin. Quote, "We are only just beginning to appreciate the healing power of music. In recent years, a wave of scientific research has upended everything that we once knew about its effect on the brain, not only in reducing stress, but also in enhancing cognitive function, slowing the spread of neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and even strengthening our immune system." The reason I added this book to the list is twofold. The first reason is very personal, and it's because my son is very interested in music and he sings a lot and all that, and I want to understand him better and be more supportive in his interest. He is like very good at the piano as well, so he has really got an ear for music. While I grew up without ever playing an instrument, I can't sing for shit, so hopefully I don't have to sing here on the channel anytime soon. And secondly, I read about the correlation between retaining cognitive function and playing instruments. I read about it in this book, Outlive, The Science and Art of Longevity by Dr. Peter Attia. This book points out the correlation between, for instance, dancing or playing the guitar or the piano, and how it can keep your mind sharp in old age. This book is pretty good, by the way. It's worth your time. I have a link to the full review of this in the description below for those of you who want to live long lives. I found that connection very interesting, so I want to know more about it. Here, a neuroscientist and celebrated musician introduces a bold new paradigm for medical treatment, rooted in the unexpected influence of music on our minds and mind and bodies. From explaining how rhythmic auditory stimulation can fight multiple sclerosis, to explaining why Tracy Chapman's song might just help cure PTSD, Professor David Levitin offers surprising insights into the new science of music as medicine. And on another note there, I started to play the guitar maybe 1-2 years ago. As I said, I have no background in music. We never played any instrument in my family growing up, or I never did anything like that. So it was quite new thing for me to pick up a guitar and like saying to myself that, hey, I'm gonna learn this because I always wanted to play. And why not start when you're 40? We can do anything, right? And I just noticed how relaxing and flow inducing the experience of playing the guitar is. I'm not very good, but I feel like I get a lot of benefits from it. It's such a relaxing experience, and it's that rhythmic and almost like trance-like thing when you start to practice your chord and everything. I really recommend it to everyone. Pick up an instrument if you've never done it. Just try it at least once in your life. You might actually get benefits from it, and that's why I want to understand more about how music influences the mind and body. Book number 3, The Eurasian Century: Hot Wars, Cold Wars, and the Making of the Modern World by Hal Brands. It's out on January 14. It's 320 pages. But what is this book about? An urgent and incisive new framework for understanding the origins and stakes of the global conflict with China, Russia, and Iran. I recently read a book for my book club called Hotet från Ryssland, or The Threat from Russia, and it opened up my eyes to the possibility that the world is not as friendly as when I grew up, and I start to see more of the potential dangers of global conflict, and maybe where I live in Sweden is not as safe as it once were. I remember when I grew up, we used to joke around when Ever we had like bought too much food, or we were stocking up on something, some extra supplies or whatever, we say quite jokingly, like, oh, it's good to have when the Russians come. But that expression has gotten a much more serious tone right now with everything that has happened geopolitically, and it's not that much of a joke anymore, and people actually stock up because what if the Russians are coming? Sweden is a nation that has had peace for a very, very long time, and we are almost kind of hurt by that safety and security that we've had for all these years. So we're not prepared. If anything, I don't think anything will happen, but if something will happen, we're not really ready. And now I want to actually learn more about these geopolitical conflicts that I'm quite oblivious about. The book argues that the modern era is not defined by American dominance, but by the ongoing Eurasian century. Eurasia, with its vast resources, population, and strategic position, has been the focal point of global power struggles. Since the early 20th century, authoritarian powers like Imperial Germany and the Soviet Union sought dominance over this supercontinent, while maritime democracies like the US and the UK worked to maintain balance and protect democratic ideals. Today, the US faces new challenges from the authoritarian axis comprising China, Russia, and Iran, threatening a revised global order that could undermine democracies. Hal Brands highlights the strategic importance of Eurasia and explores how technology and ideological shifts have made it the epicenter of global geopolitics in the 20th century, with significant implications for the 21st century's conflicts and rivalries. Sounds a little bit dry, but sometimes when you get one of these books and you actually take on topics that you're not that familiar with, it's quite rewarding, and this sounds like one of those books. Next book on the list. Are you ready? Are you ready? Our New Social Life: Science-Backed Strategies for Creating Meaningful Connections by Natalie Kerr. It's out on January 7th. It's 184 pages. Quote, a fascinating introduction to the science of connection that will ultimately improve your social life and lead to better relationships. In a world where everything seems to transform in a blink, anyone can suddenly find themselves scrambling for human connection. Someone who has always found it easy to connect can suddenly feel disoriented if they start a new job, move to a new region, or welcome a new member into the family. Others may have found it difficult to connect, feeling that they've outgrown their circles and may feel dissatisfied for a range of other reasons. Looking at this book, and also, as I mentioned before, 2024 was kind of a low for me, and one reason for that was I had lost my sense of connection. I was less engaged with friends, with co-workers, and less connected with my the community around me, which made me, to be honest, feel a little bit lonely, and I was isolated at times. And that's something that I've been working on to improve already last year when I started to notice this. When I joined a scout group and trying to lead a bunch of kids, connecting more with the people in the neighborhood. Started to play StarCraft 2 with an old friend on a regular basis, just to keep in touch with friends, because sometimes I don't feel like I have time, because the kids takes a lot of time, work takes a lot of time, Booklab takes some time. So reestablishing those connections really have helped me. So I want to know more about this subject. The book offers tools for introverts and extroverts alike. I'm somewhere in between, I think. I love to be alone, but I also don't mind social situations. Whether the barriers to connections are a function of modern life, such as us being distracted by our devices, feeling overworked, and living far away from loved ones, yeah, that's also a situation I have. Like, I don't have my parents and family in the city where I live. Which is kind of taking a toll on me now that when they are growing older, and also have my brother, he has a son, and it's not that accessible to visit him because I live on the other side of the country. Back to the book. Enough about me. Living away from loved ones, or more timeless, such as simply not knowing how to connect, misunderstanding the thoughts and feelings of others, undervaluing moments of solitude, and avoiding the sort of vulnerability that create deep bonds. This book offers hope, encouragement, and relatability to help readers have a richer and more vibrant social life. It sounds like a very different book from what I've read recently, and I think it has a spot on the list. Let's go into the next one. Against Platforms, Surviving Digital Utopia. It's out on January 7th. It's 224 pages. A bold and imaginative critique of the hidden cost of digital life and a manifesto for a better future. Quote, at the turn of the millennium, digital technologies seem to have immense promise for transforming our society. With these new powerful tools, thinking went, we would be free to live our best lives connected to our communities in a ways full of infinite potential. A quarter of a century on, this form of utopianism seems like a cruel mirage. Our lives are more fragmented and pressure-filled than ever, and we race to keep up with technologies that manipulate, command, and drain us at every turn. Last year, I committed to fully embrace a digital life. This might sound strange, but I'm gonna explain a little bit what I mean. I see so many people trying to resist the change that is happening in the world right now, or at least resist parts of it. So, what do I mean by embracing the digital life? It means that I accept that the world is turning more and more digital, and instead of fighting it, I try to embrace it, and I try to stay curious about the new things, to try things out, see how I can adapt my life, how I can use the technology in a positive manner, and try to ignore because it's so easy to fall into like negative thinking around all these new technologies because we can see some of the dark sides of them. But I try to do the opposite and embrace them, try to be curious about it, and try to figure out like how can I use this thing, all these new technologies to enrich my life instead, and learn as much as possible about this new and exciting way of life. You will see this reflected in my planned reading list for 2025 as well, which is a lot focused on how to position yourself in this new era, as well as exploring societal change and the grand themes that has gone throughout history in how societies evolve when new technologies are introduced and so on. The reason I have this book on the list is because it seems to take a more cautious perspective on new technology, and it could be good for revealing any blind spots that I have on the topic. In Against Platforms, technologist and creator Pepi lays out an explanation of what went wrong and a manifesto for putting it right. The key, says Pepi, is that we have been taught that digital technologies are natural tools, transparent, easily understood, and are here to serve us. The reality, Pepi says, is that they are laden with assumptions and collateral consequences. Ideology, in other words. And it is this hidden ideology that must be dismantled if we are to harness technology for the fullest expression of our humanity. Interesting stuff indeed. Next up, the Disengaged Teen. Helping kids learn better, feel better, and live better. It's out on January 7th. It's by Jenny Anderson. It's 352 pages. And speaking of the digital age, one worry that I have for where we are at right now is actually for the people that are growing up right now and our kids. Like, how do we provide them with the tools they need to take on the future? It's a confusing age to grow up in, and I think many parents feel kind of ill-equipped to guide their children because the honest, old and tried way of making a life for yourself might not be working anymore because the rules have changed. The way I organized my life when I was younger and growing up and becoming a young adult, it might be not be viable anymore. Hence, the question becomes, how can we ensure that our children thrive? A powerful toolkit for parents of both checked out and stressed out teens that shows exactly what to do and what to stop to do to support their academic and emotional flourishing. Adolescents are hardwired to explore and grow, and learning is mainly how they do this, but a shocking majority of teens are disengaged from school, simultaneously bored and overwhelmed. This is feeding an alarming teen mental health crisis. As kids get older and more independent, parents often feel powerless to help. But fear not, there are evidence backed strategies to guide them from disengagement to drive in and out of school. I have kids, they're turning 6 and 10 this year, and yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I put this book on the list. I want to be prepared. I want to be able to handle these situations myself and make sure that I can foster some kind of natural sense of curiosity in my children. And this seems to be a helpful book with that. The authors have been investigating why so many children lose their love for learning in adolescence, now weaving extensive original research with real-world stories of kids who transform their relationship with learning. They identify 4 models of learning that students use to navigate through the shifting academic demands and social dynamics of middle and high school, shaping the internal narratives about their skills, potential, and identity. And they identify these 4 groups: resistors, passengers, achievers, explorers. And the aim here is that we want to allow our children or raise them to be explorers driven by curiosity. So it sounds like a really interesting book, and that's the list. So it's time for pick of the month. Before that, I just wanted to say that subscribe, like, and share. It really helps me reach more people with great books and just support my work here. Pick of the month. I haven't pre-planned this really, but I think actually I'm gonna pick a tricky month for books. Like, I don't feel like there were that many like really standout title, or like, oh, this big author makes a return with a new book, or any topic that really stood out to me. But there's one book in this list that I feel like, yeah, feels like a good fit for me right here and right now, and it's Our New Social Life: Science-Backed Strategies for Creating Meaningful Connection. Sounds like a great book to start off the year with. At number 2, I probably, and just for my personal sake, I would pick the Disengaged teen book as well. I think that's a book I will actually pick up and read. So let me know in the comments which one you would pick up, and if I missed any books. If I miss books, or if you have like upcoming books that you want me to cover here on the channel, please comment below and help me, because it's sometimes hard to find these books. I search around, I go to the publishers' websites, I go around Amazon and different pages, but I still end up missing some important books sometimes. So please help me out. I'll be back next week with more book reviews. I have a bunch of book reviews piled up. I know I talked about reviewing Nate Silver's book, and I was supposed to do that last year. Didn't get to it. I just read this book, Energy and Civilization: A History. This is a crazy important book. It's gonna take a while to digest it and make a review of it, but this one is a keeper. It's a banger. I also read a Leo Tolstoy book as I commuted during Christmas, The Life of Ian Illich. I don't know how to pronounce his name. So there's going to be a lot of books, recommendation, review videos, shorts coming up. 2025 is going to be great. Happy reading, everyone. Björn out.